Hello everyone and welcome to another Chess Secrets video, and today we have a sixth episode of chess tactics and pattern recognition. And improving your chess tactics and being able to recognize more patterns will definitely improve your chess. So one good way to do that is to drill chess problems or chess tactics until they're kind of burned into your memory banks, so you can remember them and use them later in your games. So let's take a look at this first position here. Right now it is white's turn to move, and it looks like black is ahead a little bit in this position, but white has a rook firing up here towards the king, two knights right around the king side, even the queen is kind of aimed in that direction. So what would you do here in this position? At first, it looks like there's an attack for white, so there must be something that white can do. But if you're familiar with different chess tactics and recognize the correct patterns, it should be easier to solve this problem. So before going on to the solution for this problem, first let's take a look at some chess patterns and some tactics, and by learning those, hopefully you'll be able to use them in your own games. So I'll come back to this problem later, and it should be easier for you to solve after we learn these chess tactics and patterns and how to recognize them. All right, so I'll go on here to the next problem. Let's see here. Okay, now this problem here is a pretty famous chess pattern, and maybe you recognize the tactics involved, but if not, this is a good one to learn. I've been able to use definitely some of this in many games, and the complete pattern, maybe I've only used the entire pattern in one or two games, but definitely pieces of this overall pattern you can use in many games. So anyway, take a look at this, and what would you do in this position? So now, before we go on to the answer for this problem, I'm going to run you through all the little parts of this, and we'll build on it and hopefully help you, solve this and the preceding problem much easier. All right. So now this problem, it's white to move. Hopefully you can figure this out pretty easily. What would you do here with white? Well, of course, if we look at the evaluation, it's a mate in one. So hopefully you found that, and it's just knight to f7. And this tactic, this pattern to recognize, is the smothered mate here, where the knight delivers checkmate and the king cannot escape because he's kind of trapped in by his own pieces. All right, so that was pretty easy. Now let's back it up a little bit further, and we'll slowly make it harder. All right, so let's see. Now, what would you do in this position here? So take a look at this and see if you can figure it out. And if at any time you need more time to think, just pause the video, and if not, let's take a look here. Okay, so if we turn on the evaluation, it's a mate in two. And here, the knight could have moved to f7 here, but then it would be a mate in four. So why not just go for the mate in two? So maybe this is hard to find because it looks like you're giving up your queen. But now, if you're familiar with the smothered mate, you'll know that knight to f7 delivers mate here. All right, so hopefully you found that. Now we'll make it a little bit more difficult here and go on to the next problem. All right, so hopefully you can build off the first problems and use that information to help solve this. So white's turn to move. What would you do here? Take a look at this. And at any time, pause the video if you need to. If not, let's find out the solution. All right, a mate in 3. Now here, we're going to use a double discovered attack here, double discovered check. So you move the knight out of the way and check at the same time, but it's also a discovered check by the queen. Now if the king were to move here to f8, it would just be an immediate mate with queen to f7. So the king is probably going to move over here to the corner, but that allows you to set up the smothered mate with a queen sacrifice, and rook capture is forced, and then the knight moves in for the mate. So now we will back it up even further, and hopefully by repeating this, it drills the pattern into your memory. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, once again, white to move. What would you do in this position? So take a look at it, pause the video if needed. If not, let's check it out. We have a mate in 4 here. So how do you begin? Well, after seeing the previous problems, you should know how to continue here. So knight checks, forcing the king onto this diagonal with the queen, setting up a discovered double check here. So the king runs back into the corner, and we sacrifice the queen and deliver the smothered mate. All right, so let's see, we'll move on to the next one, and hopefully as you learn this and go along, it'll be easier to solve the problems. All right, let's see here. Number 7. All right, and now I've accidentally gone to the wrong problem. So we'll go back here to the final solution. So now you should know how to solve this original problem here with this wasn't the very first problem, but the second one, showing how to set up this smothered mate. So white to move here, what would you do to start off this smothered mate position or tactical pattern? All right, let's take a look. It's a mate in 5, and hopefully if you did well and followed the tactical patterns, you should be able to find this. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, let's continue. All right, it's a mate in 5, and first the queen must deliver check by going to d5 here. The queen doesn't want to go to c4, or the rook would have captured the queen. So queen to d5, delivering check. Now, once again, if the king moves to f8, well, then it's an immediate mate by the queen to f7, and the knight protects that queen. So the king is forced into the corner with king to h8, and now we have knight delivering check, forcing the king out of the corner and onto this diagonal, setting up a double discovered check here. And now, once again, if the king moves out, the queen can deliver mate on f7, so the king has to go back into the corner. But this allows the queen sacrifice and the smothered mate. All right, so now, using all of this information and having this knowledge and the tactical pattern here with the smothered mate, it should help you in the original problem, which I'll take a look at that again here. Let's see, make sure I don't give anything away. So, all right. So here we go. This was the original problem. What would you do here as white? Take a look at it once again. And we see that the two knights are hovering around. The rook is attacking. The queen is lined up on that diagonal. And after you take a look at it, pause the video if you need to look further. Let's break this problem down and figure out how to solve it using the patterns that we've learned. All right. Okay, so here it's white's turn to move. What would you do in this position? All right, pause the video if you need more time, but hopefully you found this fairly easily. It is, of course, the smothered mate. So mate in 1 and knight to f7 delivers the smothered mate, and black is trapped in by his own pieces. All right, so now we'll move on to the next example here. All right. Okay, so building off of that smothered mate problem and the tactical patterns that we've learned so far, what would you do here in this position with white to move? Okay, so pause the video if you need more time, but hopefully you found the mate in 2 with queen to g8 here, sacrificing the queen, which is protected by this knight, so the king cannot capture, and the only move is for the rook to capture. And then we have the smothered mate once again. All right, let's continue with this theme and move on to the next example here. All right, now once again, building off of what we've learned, what would you do here? All right. Let's take a look. So it is a mate in 3, and the correct path is a discovered double check by the queen and the knight. So moving out of the way, the knight delivers check, the queen also delivers check, and once again, remember that if the king moves towards the center of the board, the queen could jump up here to f7 and deliver mate because it's protected by the knight. So the king moves into the corner, but then we sacrifice the queen and deliver the smothered mate. All right, let's move on to the next example. Okay, once again, white to move, and hopefully you've learned what to do from the previous examples. Take a look here and see if you can figure it out. All right, it is a mate in 4, and hopefully you figured out that knight captures on f7 here, delivering check, forces the king out of the corner to g8, and now we deliver the double discovered check. The king runs into the corner, and once again we sacrifice the queen. The rook captures here, and we deliver the smothered mate. Okay, let's keep building on this theme and go on to the next example. All right, number 11 here. Okay, so once again, white to move here. And what do you think white should do? Now, there's 2 options here. So take a look, pause the video if you need more time to think. But if not, we'll take a look. It's a mate in 5 here. And we see that either knight could capture here, but if we capture with this knight here, with check, the king cannot run here to g8, so his only option is to capture that knight. And then we have capture delivering check. The king is forced to g8. The double discovered check, forcing the king back into the corner. Once again, we sacrifice the queen and then deliver the deliver the smothered mate. Okay, let's build on this further here and go to number 12. All right, so now you should have, watching what we've done previously, you should be able to figure out how to continue here. So white to move. What would you do? Pause the video if you need to look at it further. But mate in 6 here. All right. And of course, the best move is knight to h6 here, delivering check, driving the king into the corner. And then, we could capture with this knight, but then that gives the king the option to move here to g8 instead of immediately capturing with the rook, although it's probably not a good option. So if we do this, it just forces black to do the only move possible, capturing with the rook. We deliver check. The king comes out of the corner. The double discovered check once again, forcing the king back into the corner. We sacrifice the queen, which is captured by the rook, and the knight delivers smothered mate. Okay, so hopefully this tactical pattern has been burned into your memory pretty good by repeating it multiple times. And so now we'll go back and take a look at the initial problem, and it should be much easier for you to figure out and solve now. All right. And now the original problem, and hopefully you didn't see the answers there immediately, but by now you should know how to solve this. So take a look at it, see if you can figure it out in your head before we start moving the pieces on the board. All right, pause the video if you need more time. If not, let's take a look at it. All right, so this is a mate in 7, but armed with the knowledge of those tactical patterns, if you can recognize those patterns, it'll be much easier to solve this. So if we look at the computer evaluation, it looks like there are other options in this. Knight to h6 leads to a mate in 12, and even knight capturing on f7 gives white an advantage. But why not go with the quickest win, which is rook capturing on h7 here. And so here the path of most resistance is for black to just capture this rook, but there is the possibility of him trying to run with the king into the corner. So we could take a quick look at that. So if the king tried to run into the corner here, well then the best option is just to capture the other pawn, delivering check here. Now, if the king were to move back here to g8, well then we could just check with the other rook. And now if there was a block by the knight, mate would be delivered after, well, excuse me, if I go back here, let's see, yes, it looks like capture, and the queen would deliver mate. So, this mate would happen a little sooner. This is another option that could have occurred in the game. So if we go back to the beginning, after rook captures, we could take a look at this once again. If the king runs into the corner, the best option is just to attack the king again. Now, we looked at what would happen if the king would run back to g8. But if he captured here, well, then we have queen to h3, checking. And now, because these knights are covering squares, the king would be forced back here to g8. And then now we have rook to g1 check. And the knight could block, but the rook would capture wherever the knight goes and deliver mate. Okay, so if we go back all the way to the beginning, take a look at it, and we'll continue the whole way through. So rook captures. We see that it's not good to go into the corner, so the best move is just to capture this rook. But then white wins by checking, forcing the king into the corner, capturing here, forcing the rook to recapture. Then we capture with check, forcing the king out of the corner and onto this diagonal with the queen here. But now we move away, delivering a double discovered check here. So the queen is under attack. If this knight would have moved somewhere and not delivered this check, then the bishop could have captured the queen. But because both pieces are checking, the king is forced to move. Now if he moves here to f8, the queen could mate on f7. So the king goes into the corner, but this allows the setup for the smothered mate. Queen to g8, forcing the rook to capture, and smothered mate. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration of the chess tactics and pattern recognition. So this is just one example of some chess tactics and patterns that you can learn. And if you drill them into your memory, you might be able to set them up in some of your own games. And some tactics, it'll be a little harder to do that. But this one, when you do get a chance to set this up, it's pretty fun. I remember the first time I was able to use it in a game, and I don't know, it was pretty exciting because the entire tactic, you don't get to use it too often, but I don't know, it is pretty fun. So anyway, I hope this helps everyone. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave comments or suggestions. And if you would like to see more of these chess tactics and pattern recognition videos, please subscribe to my Nick Butts Chess channel, where you can enjoy more of those videos. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.